Today I'm going to tell you about someone who went from running a national cryptocurrency program to the most wanted list in just 2 years. Ramirez Camacho was appointed back in 2018 to head up Venezuela's Cryptoassets program. And in particular, he was put in charge of a cryptocurrency called the Petro, which was to be backed by Venezuelan oil. And at the time that the announcement was made, a lot of international commentators spoke highly of the fact that Ramirez Camacho was going to be spearheading the efforts to create a national cryptocurrency whose value was backed by oil. But last week, the Department of Homeland Security announced that Ramirez Camacho was on its most wanted list and offered $5 million for information leading to his arrest. So a lot of people are now wondering just who is Ramirez Camacho and how did he become a most wanted man? Ramirez Camacho is just 33 years old, and he's considered the right-hand man of Tarek al-Assami, who's the former vice president of Venezuela. And that could be the source of Ramirez Camacho's problems, because back in 2017, OFAC announced that al-Assami was being identified as a specially designated narcotics trafficker under the Kingpin Act here in the United States. And that same year, President Nicolas Maduro announced that Venezuela would be issuing a brand new cryptocurrency called the Petro. The Petro was supposed to be a national cryptocurrency whose value was backed by oil. And at the time that the tokens were sold, there was a lot of confusion both about technically how the token would function and what blockchain it would be on, and how the value of that token would be guaranteed. So the Venezuelan government put out a white paper that announced that an individual petro would be equal to 1 barrel of Venezuelan oil. But investors asked, how would that work? How do I take this cryptocurrency token and turn it into a barrel of oil or into something that has the same value as a barrel of oil? And the answers that were given at that time by the Venezuelan government didn't make a lot of sense. And later they admitted that the value of an individual petro token would be allowed to fluctuate freely in the marketplace and wouldn't be strictly tied to the value of a barrel of oil. When the US government heard about this plan that Venezuela had to sell a cryptocurrency called the Petro, it wasn't very happy. And that was because it viewed the sale of the Petro as an attempt to circumvent sanctions that had been imposed on Venezuelans, including President Maduro as well as al-Assami. So after learning about this announcement of the sale of the Petro, President Trump issued an order. And that order barred all Americans from participating in any transactions that involved a digital currency that was issued by the Venezuelan government. So this order, together with the general uncertainty about how the token would function and how it's backed by oil, resulted in the token not being very valuable, and it never was really widely used. Federal prosecutors in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, where I used to work, charged Ramirez Camacho as well as al-Assami with several crimes that relate to circumventing OFAC sanctions. And the indictment noted that Ramirez Camacho took his position as the superintendent of cryptocurrency after the United States had issued an order making it unlawful for United States citizens to engage in transactions that involve these petros. They also identified a number of other actions that Ramirez Camacho took, including instructing another individual to open an account in Turkey and create a new entity in Turkey to circumvent the OFAC sanctions, as well as participating in bulk cash smuggling from Venezuela into the United States. This case underscores a couple of issues that are critical both for banks and fintech companies. First, it's important to know your customer. If your customer is engaging in transactions with an entity that is on the sanctions list, you might be facing an enforcement action down the line. And the only way you can know that is if you ask questions. So get to know your customer. The second thing is that sanctions law applies to cryptocurrencies. A lot of fintech companies that are in the cryptocurrency space and deal in cryptocurrencies don't even think about whether or not they might be transacting with an entity that is on the US sanctions list. So it is critical to put in place policies and procedures to prevent this from happening. And this can be difficult to do, particularly in the cryptocurrency space, when it's often unclear which entity involved in a transaction is taking responsibility for sanctions compliance. But good news, I'm a lawyer. So if you have any questions about how to implement policies and procedures to prevent violations of OFAC sanctions, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about it.